You know, say one thing about Andrew's Wizardly Reads. Say he likes to read. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and as always guys, I am Andrew, and today I got a little bit of a discussion for you, but before we get into that, make sure you're liking and subscribing and hitting that bell notification so you can get regular updates for when I put out new content. I post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Also, make sure you're checking that description box down below for the link to the Wizardly Duo Discord, as well as information about my Patreon and links to all of my social media. That said guys, this is going to be a mild spoiler discussion about my experience within the First Law world. To a certain point, I've only read the first two trilogies. I am not going to be going into deep spoilers, but I do want to kind of talk about my experience and my journey and how I feel about the series as a whole. Because this is a very, very, very popular series here on BookTube, and I've been kind of quiet on it as I've just been kind of reading them off to the side. I did do a full critique on Best Served Cold, so I might gloss over that one a little bit and move past that a little fast because this will probably be a little bit of a longer video. But I will go ahead and link that up in the cards so you can check that out because I highly recommend it because I go deep into my thoughts on Best Served Cold there. That said, guys, with that out of the way, like I said, mild spoilers, but not deep spoilers. Like, I'm not going to be talking specific events or things of that nature. Or if they do come up, they will be in reference to the specific book they're in, which I'm doing in sequence. And, this collection is actually one of the first sets, along with Red Rising, that I picked up when I first discovered BookTube. And, I got this whole thing for like $35, all 6 books. And it took me a year to read these because I wasn't super in love with it. To start, let me specify that. There's nothing wrong with the blade itself. The blade itself is fairly inoffensive, but we get to meet some fantastic characters. From Sandan Glokta to Jazal, Cullum West, I believe, his sister Ardi, the first of the Magi, Baez, just all of these great characters, but pacing-wise, the plot is not, very, very fast. In fact, a lot of people like to make the joke that it has no plot. I didn't really mind it. I actually enjoyed kind of getting to know the characters and really getting to understand what Joe Abercrombie is about, and that's his character work. And I will say that I think I gave that one a 4 out of 5, and I really, really enjoy Abercrombie's character work. The fact that he's called Lord Grimdark, I don't know if that's a moniker he took on himself or the ones that people gave to him. These are not the darkest stories I have ever read. Not by any means. They're a little messed up! And a lot of the times they're anti-cathartic. And that, a lot of the times, has a feeling to kind of leave you with a sense of, at least with me, it left me with a sense of a lot of dissatisfaction, which we'll get into when we get to Last Argument of Kings. But, overall, this book, we've got the competition, we've got Jazal training, and things of that nature. We're really just meeting our characters here. Not a whole lot happens, and I was fine with it. So there, starting out my journey, I was like, yeah, okay, it's a great character-driven story. I don't see anything that's really going to wow me here, but, let's keep on going. And, of course, that brings us to Before They Are Hanged. And Before They Are Hanged is an interesting one, because I think I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. I think, up until the next trilogy, this is the one that got me, fist pumping in the air. There were moments in here with West, and West battles with his darkness. Glokta constantly having to deal and put up with everybody's crap. Glokta is just he's mangled, he's been tortured, things of that nature, and Glokta is just I love he's always just body floating down by the docks, which if you haven't listened to Stephen Pacey narrate these, you haven't really fully experienced the First Law world, because even though the written word is really great, the way that Pacey is able to add that lisp, almost like he's got teeth missing, is really, really interesting. But Before They Are Hanged was probably peak first trilogy for me. This one, we start getting into bigger events, we start getting into sieges and things of that nature. We get to meet Carla Dan Ida, we get to meet Vitari. I think this is where she makes her first appearance. And then, who else do we have here? I don't know. It's been a while since I've read Before They Are Hanged, but I do remember this being the most satisfying of the three, which is you either love Before They Are Hanged or Last Argument of Kings, depending on if you like cathartic endings or not. Last Argument of Kings was 70% fantastic, and then for me personally, this is where my enjoyment and where I stopped talking about First Law takes place, is that in the last 20 to 30% of this, it felt like we had a good ending. It felt like we had a solid trilogy. And then to me, it felt like the author got a little carried away. And this is my personal opinion. I know a lot of people love the way this book ends. But like the way that's just nobody wins. Nobody ends up winning in Last Argument of Kings. And that really bugged me. And so like, I mean, I guess you could say Galacta won. But then like certain things that happened in Before They Are Hanged and in Last Argument of Kings, and then statements made by another character of like, I was always in control. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Like I said, mild spoilers, not deep spoilers. No, you were not always in control, because this character almost died at one point, which means you were not in control. And so that really, really bugged me. That level of arrogance coming from a character, which don't get me wrong, this character was one of my favorites and then just got character assassinated, in my opinion, towards the end of this book. And then just the ending that West got, the ending that Giselle got, which, like, a mild spoiler is, like, some political stuff was getting done, and he ends up becoming king. And I thought that was super interesting, and then the way it turns out, it just gets kind of meh, which comes back to, we'll talk about when we get to the heroes. So, that kind of left me with a sour taste in my mouth, because I've read a whole trilogy, a pretty thick trilogy. And so we've got, The Blade itself. We've got Before They Are Hanged, a decent read. A fairly really good read, and then mostly good, and then just ripping it all away from me with the anti-catharsis, which for me didn't end up working. So if we're done with the first trilogy, I then sat on the First Law because I was unsatisfied. I was very upset. I had conversations with a lot of my friends, some who loved the series, some who agreed with my opinions. I know a lot of people, like Mike loves First Law, Leslie loves First Law. Many people's opinion that I respect love the First Law world. And, at the time, Age of Madness, which you can kind of see right here, was coming out. I've got them all in hardcover, which is a good sign, indicating where I'm going on with this video. And so for a while, I decided to just sit on the series, or I guess the world, because the trilogy was done, and then a new trilogy. You know what I'm trying to say. So then we get to Best Served Cold. And Best Served Cold basically is the start of the standalone trilogy, where it starts in publication order with Best Served Cold, going into the heroes, and then Red Country. And Best Served Cold, like I said, I have done a full spoiler critique on this. It was just a bit much. It was like an ice cream sundae that had like 2 scoops too much, to where I'm just kind of burping full. It was a lot of fun. Monzo Makato and reintroducing Cole Shivers from the original trilogy. This is where I was like, oh, we're going to be introducing a lot of legacy characters back into the standalone trilogy, which does. Joe Abercrombie does this really well. Is he takes legacy characters and continues to build on them through either cameos or kind of lets you know the state of the world on what's going on as these books progress. And something that I do need to talk about is because there's a huge time jump between Last Argument of Kings and the first, A Little Hatred, the first in the Age of Madness. And we experience those time jumps through the standalones here. This, I believe Best Served Cold is like 3 or 4 years after the end, and then the Heroes is even further. And then, Red Country is like 10, 15, it's been a while. And so I was reading Best Served Cold. I loved Morveer. Morveer was just very self-destruction, but then the revenge plots got just way too twisted. I felt like it was one section too long. We could have removed a whole section if we hadn't had a legacy cameo. And then we brought back Carla Dan Ida, whose character I was really mad at because it felt like she just couldn't be killed. Nobody could take care of Carla Dan Ida. She just kept coming back. She was like a cat. She just couldn't stay away, if you know that song, The Cat Came Back. Anyway, What I do love is then we got Nakomo Casca in Best Served Cold, which Nakomo Casca was in before they were hanged, and he was just this kind of mercenary captain. He's this drunk, very bad with money, and we really get to see that, Nakoma gets I guess I should call him Casca, because he usually goes by Casca. He gets kind of a redemption arc, I want to say, but then like later on we come back to him again, because again he shows up even later. So we get all these relationships, and it's really working, it's really intricate, and it just builds on top of each other. But again, I was left kind of dissatisfied. So then I sat on First Law again for like 4 or 5 months. 3 to 4 months. Let's say 3 to 4 months. I don't actually have the time frame pulled up. It was a while. And I was just talking about, hey, it's going to take me forever. It's going to take me forever. And then I read both of these in a single month. And that's because I really enjoyed the heroes. I gave it about, I think, a 4 out of 5, maybe a 3.5 out of 5. Mainly because this takes place, and I should say with the standalones, before I say it takes place, they each kind of take a specific theme and then go into it and explore it. Best Served Cold was revenge. This is kind of like exploring heroes and what that means and things of that nature. This brings back Black Dow. This brings back, again, Shivers. Calder, who was the son of Bethod, King of the North in the original trilogy. We've got Kernan Craw, the last honest Northman, where he's just like, if he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. I really enjoyed Kernan Craw. He's kind of like old and crotchety. He's basically like Murtaugh from Lethal Weapon, where he's like, I'm too old for this. I really like that. And then we got, I can't remember his first name. Bremendam Gorst. It brings back Gorst, which it's funny when Pacey does Gorst, it's a very annoying high squeaky, but he's like this awesome swordsman with no social skills. And basically, I didn't understand what Gorst was going through, and then I had to like do a refresh on go on a wiki and figure out what had happened. Because Gorst goes all the way back to the first book of the Blade itself, where he competes against Jezal in a competition and gets defeated, and then, that whole thing happens. And then he shows up again briefly in that one section of Best Served Cold that I didn't really love and felt could have been removed. And then that ends up to him being where he's at in the heroes, in kind of disgrace, out on the front lines fighting the Northmen still. I really, really like that we get introduced to a really lot of cool things. I think Red Beck, I really loved Red Beck because it's the first time where I see like a character make a really human, I won't say really human choice, really sane choice, where like he gets his name, he becomes a named man, and he's like, this is garbage, like who wants to do this? And so like at the end of the book he's like, nah, peace out, deuce. Red Beck is going back to being a farmer. And usually all of the named men are always like, man, I should have stayed at the farm, and Red Beck does it. So I thought that was really, really cool. I really enjoyed the heroes, and then I just happened to have space. And so then that leads me to Red Country. And guys, I think this is probably my first real mind-blowing experience with the First Law world. And I know that's a controversial statement. When it comes to Red Country, this one's kind of a take on Westerns. Which initially, like the first half of the book, I was like, I don't get where the Western theme is coming from. The second half of the book, like, it starts to make sense. Like, there's train robbery, or like, there's the heist, and high noon, and like, swords at high noon, and things of that nature. Like, it's funny. So it's in there. And I really liked that theme. It really worked for me. But it was here where, like, the culmination and the way time is presented within this world, because these are kind of like, what do I want to say? It's like pre-Industrial Revolution when we're at the Blade itself. And then we're at Industrial Revolution by the time we get to Age of Madness. And we really see that kind of all come together. We get cannons here in the heroes. And at that point, I realized Joe Abercrombie is good at world building. And, like, don't get me wrong, it was usually just, like, countries at war and stuff with me. And then it just all suddenly falls into place when I got here to Red Country. And at this point, I became a convert. It took 6 books and almost, I think, 10 months for me to become a convert into the First Law world. But at the time of finishing this, because I enjoyed Heroes and then I fell in love with Red Country, I am now super excited for Age of Madness. And specifically, we've got Lamb, we've got Temple, Shy South. Returning, we've got Nakomo Casca. a much older, grizzled mercenary captain. We've got Sweet, I don't know, he's like a rancher, kind of like legendary cowboy type deal. Like, that's kind of his role when he's slotted in. We've got Conthus, the rebel leader. And then we've got the Inquisitor Corson, who's haunting Conthus. And it's just this whole thing of, like, I really, really enjoyed it. Overall, like, I don't want to really get in, like, mild spoilers, but the return of certain characters just absolutely blew my mind. The term, some kind of coward. You always said you were some kind of coward. That is how Shy South talks to her father-in-law. And I just love it because, like, one of the last lines in this book is, I never said I wasn't. And that just, right there. Because, I mean, honestly, the truth is, he never said he wasn't. Guys, this blew me away. Like, this was it was the first time, like, the pacing lined up, the characters lined up. I think Carlet Danida makes an appearance in here, but she's never named. And so, like, I'm like, I think I know who you are. And that's just, like, through knowing her characterization and seeing that Joe Abercrombie doesn't even need to name the character for you to know who they are. And that's really, really great. I think one of the issues on one of the negative reviews I've seen of Red Country is that they felt like there was a character assassination here with Nakomo Casca. And I refute that statement because I think Nakomo was never a good person. Even when he was being in his redemption arc, he was still not a good person. And in fact, that's kind of like a through line of theme all throughout the First Law, is that there are really no good men. Like, even the good men are, when they're doing something right, it's to hurt somebody. Like, somebody's going to get hurt. Even Kernan Craw back in the Heroes, he does the right thing, and then it leads to somebody almost being killed. So, like, basically, all actions have consequences. Like, I really, really love that about the First Law. I won't say that this is my top 10 favorite series of all time. I won't say Abercrombie's one of my favorite writers of all time. I will say I have a newfound respect and a lot more excitement going into Age of Madness. I am, I think, a First Law convert, but it took me a while to get, it took me a while to get there, guys. It was not until I read Red Country that I truly understood how much I had come to love the story, the world, almost the magic system, because the magic here is not in the magic. The magic here is in character interaction, and I think that's really, really special. That said, guys, I am not going to go harp on a whole lot longer, but let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on First Law. How far have you gotten into First Law? What do you think of my takes on First Law? How excited should I be for the Age of Madness? Please let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear your thoughts. So till next time, guys, peace out. Stay magical. Bye. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons.